Yeah. Mic check 1, 2, you hear me? 144 back again. Run it back. Yeah. It's time to leave the enemy desolate. I'm heaven sent, these niggas just on some extra shit, and I ain't impressed with it. Could you kick that bullshit to the left of me? Hey look, you can't deny this excellence. I use this mic like weaponry, and I've been seeking more clarity. Right now I'm ready as I'll ever be, rugged as I ever been. The devil knocking at my door, I'ma let him in, cause I'm a worthy adversary. Pour them liqueur laced with rosemary. It's time to grind, ain't no time to tarry. Take one of mine, get your soul carried. I got them worried, plus these niggas full of estrogen. They fickle, they false. Got a big ball, so end up in a real issue. Fuck with my brethren, I deal with you. Yeah, look, it's getting real official. Seeing how them bitches can cross you, and how they still twist you. It'll hit you, then peel a tissue. Them others weak, my brother's been sent to the deep. So tell me, how can I turn the other cheek while this wicked world trying to smother me? Something gotta shake, I'm gonna cry it out. Time to gird up my loins and ride out. In my soul I feel devastation. In my eyes I see desolation. On my door, death is waiting. But I don't wanna see no more desolation. I said I don't wanna see no more. And in my soul I feel devastation. In my eyes I see desolation. On my door, death is waiting. But I don't wanna see no more desolation. But I don't wanna see no more.
Beat the cops, beat the ops, beat the motherfucking eyes. I'm the one. Why you think that I've been rolling with a cod? Your little arms is too short to hotbox with God. Fringes long, team strong with them, a gun, die would die. Tired of these fake snakes, crooked Nate to oppress Jake. No pressure makes diamonds I won't break. On this crooked landscape, we gon' make some shake. So I ain't got time to argue with you fucking reprobates. While these crackers getting richer when we raise the crime rate, and they hunt my people like gorillas and some primates. So we in these streets trying to raise a brother's mind state in every concrete jungle, from Cali to the tri-state. I buried brothers over beef that they couldn't squash. Blood in the streets, brains out like galosh. I trust the cracker when I meet Sasquatch. You listening to real niggas, dog, who can't be bought. Whoa, why you think I go so hard? Cause this world's fucked up, nigga, I've been scarred. PTSD, brothers can't drop their guard. Every day some bullshit, you gotta weave and bob. It's no facade, so every day I'm on my job. It's time to send these devils to the land of Nod. Cause when I lost my religion, that's when I found God. So when I lost my religion, nigga, I found God.
In my soul I feel devastation. In my eyes I see desolation. On my door, death is waiting. But I don't wanna see no more desolation. I said I don't wanna see no more. Hey, in my soul I feel devastation. In my eyes I see desolation. On my door, death is waiting. But I don't wanna see no more desolation. And I don't wanna see no more.
You boy, you know what time it is, nigga. Better watch how you step in, yeah. But that was my niggas, yeah. I'm in it, yo. Got my nigga Rewan with me. But that was my niggas, it'll be an honor. You know what I'm saying? Under commanding General. That shit ain't gon' stop till we on top and we ballin', my nigga. We be fly as fuck, you know them bitches be stalking my niggas. That shit'll never change and it's the same with all my niggas. City to city, I should be at home, that's what my ribs say. But bitch, I'm grown, I'm in these streets and closed caption, niggas know we bout that the shit, y'all know they can't stand us, but we UPK, Louisiana, bitch, that's what I'm rippin'. And my niggas solid number, real ones in my section. If you wanna get down, put your boots on, start steppin'. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood I lay my life down right now for all my sisters and brothers, because I love them. I see them dapping and hug them. It's amazing to see how well we adapt from the struggle. Born again from a life of sin, trapped in the gutter. My mind frame was to kill my own kind. Feeling inferior, waking up ready to die. Run with them killers, so it's just a matter of time. For why take your life or let you take mine? That's when I realized the slaves killing slaves while the white man live to get old. We in them graves, shit got me feeling played. I opened the Bible, went through them records, found out we was royalty, a nation to be respected. But in this world we rejected, we hated for our complex. Still fighting to get accepted. We hear the truth and reject it, but love is getting corrected. And all my niggas correct me. The commandments, the foundation we erected. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you steppin', cause brotherhood is a weapon. Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
All right. Shalom, Israel. You live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain Soccer War holding down the class live from Memphis, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday here in Memphis, we have classes from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. For all you brothers and sisters tuning in from Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, if you got family, loved ones, people you care about in the Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding area, get them in contact with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Since 1969, we've been teaching so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2026, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on this earth. What we like to do with these classes is give brothers and sisters an opportunity to go into this book called the Bible, to regain the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Most High has put inside of this book, so that we can come back to being the people that he called us to be and reclaim our righteous place on the earth as kings, priests, princesses, and daughters of Zion. With that being said, I'd like to start the class off with questions. If any brothers and sisters have questions online, just type them in. If any brothers and sisters have questions in the room, raise your hand. If there are no questions, then we'll go ahead and get into the topic of tonight's class. What you see on the screen is Pharaoh's hard heart. All right, Pharaoh's hard heart is the topic of tonight's class. Give a shout out to some of the sisters on here. Sister Nazar Mana from Louisiana, Officer Matawa's wife, Yahweh Shemal Tabashim Yahushua. Sister Ainaya from Mississippi checking in. Shalom, sis. And Sister Sister Asa from Southern California, the wife of Trooper Mawasad. Also, Sister Shawabah, Shalom, Yahweh Shemal Tabashim Yahushua. Rib of Captain of 10,000 Soccer War, checking in from Memphis. Shalom, says, how you doing? We are living in a very peculiar time in the earth, right? There's a lot of things that's going on in the media, a lot of things going on in the news, and it seems like every day there's something new to cause us to be afraid, to cause us to be distracted, to cause us to be frustrated. And all of it is a ploy being used by our oppressor to really have everybody in disarray, discombobulated. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the confusion that you see going on in the media today is not by accident. Every other day, there's some new breaking news about some horrible thing going on in the earth, some great threat, whether it's artificial intelligence, it's the data centers they trying to throw up in all these neighborhoods, it's the aliens that they releasing files about, it's the Voting Rights Act that they rolling back, it's the celebration of America's 250-year anniversary coming up this summer. I mean, it's a lot of things that's going on in this earth, and it just seems like every day we're being bombarded with something new that is the, great, horrible threat that everybody should be worried about. And being in the truth, being under Command General Yohana, myself since 2010, I understand a lot of what's taking place in society right now. A lot of the things that are going on are things that we have been reading and studying in the Bible and on the streets prophesying and warning brothers and sisters about, since the 60s, since the 1960s. A lot of the things that we have been on the streets teaching for years, I could understand why and how people could dismiss us. I could understand why and how people could say we were crazy, we were conspiracy theorists. I could understand why and how people could, dismiss us and say that we were radical and all these things. But as more and more of what we've been teaching is becoming the life that everybody is forced to see for themselves, I don't see that anymore. I don't see a lot of people ridiculing us as much. The truth is beginning to grow online. You know what I'm saying? Brothers like Captain Tazaryak are being respected and interviewed, and our knowledge and our wisdom is gaining traction. But there is a next step to all of this that we were warned about, that the Bible tells us about, that we were taught by the men above us to be prepared for. And it's the day when a lot of the conversation taking place around God and religion starts to center in and focus on what it is we're teaching in the truth. And as we are getting closer to that day, our oppressor is doing a lot of things publicly to demonize and belittle us as much as he can before the day comes when we are going to be the ones, meaning the men of the Lord and the ISUPK are going to be the ones that everybody is turning to. And a lot of that has to do with the measures that's being taken in this society to erase and disappear the contributions of Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. In the government under Donald Trump, there's been a concerted effort to try and erase and eliminate the history and the knowledge and the presence of the contributions of Black people to this country. They're literally rewriting history books. They're deleting, the history of Black soldiers from the military off of the internet. They're giving, speeches. Pete Hegseth, who was the the Secretary of Defense for the Donald Trump administration, just gave a commencement address at West Point in Virginia, which is like the graduating academy for the military, where he talks about how they don't want a diverse military. They don't want diverse ranks. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to acknowledge the presence of Black and brown and Native presences in their forces. And it reminded me of a story that you read about in the Bible in Exodus concerning the rise of a new Pharaoh that came after the days of Joseph's contributions to Egypt. And it was the erasure of Israelite contributions historically in Egypt that led to this new Pharaoh that rose up, not respecting and not caring about the Hebrews that were in captivity in Egypt. And there's a lot of correlations to the story in Exodus about Joseph and the Israelites and Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people in America today. So I wanted to show you those parallels in the scriptures and show you the outcome of what happened with Joseph's contributions not being remembered, and try to prepare you all for what it is they're going to try to do with us in this place after erasing us from the history books, after erasing our contributions and our presence, and then trying to completely dismiss us, looking solely at the negative current status we have based on what the propaganda they've been able to spew against us on the internet and on social media. All right, so that's what we're gonna get into today. I don't see any questions on the screen, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it in the first scriptures. All right, so we're gonna start in the book of Exodus and get the exact verse now. Of course, let's go back to the beginning. All right, let's go back to the beginning of the Israelites being in Egypt and the contributions that we made towards that society and that culture. I think I see the camera slowing down a little bit, y'all. The camera might go out in a minute. If it does go out, then don't worry about it. I'll just go ahead and restart the camera. But like it's slowing down a little bit. But let me go ahead and get this. First of all, let me disconnect from there. All right, boom. Let's get bear with me. Yeah, there you go, right there. I know what's gonna happen. We got the backup. There we go. Let me get this flashlight. Hold on. Bear with me. That's crazy. All right. All right, boom. That's better. There we go. All right, so we're gonna go in the book of Genesis. Let me get let's get Genesis chapter. Well, no, let's get right to remember not. Okay. All right, let's get Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. All right. All right, let's get Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. Again, the topic of tonight's class is Pharaoh's hard heart. We're going to this breakdown concerning the events that took place in the Bible with the Israelites and the Egyptians and the conditions that were created that enabled the Egyptians to deal cruelly and harshly with the children of Israel, and then why it was so evil that the Egyptians dealt with the Israelites that way, which is what preceded the Most High desiring to deliver the children of Israel. The Bible, because of religion, we don't read the Bible with a cultural and historical context. A lot of us read the Bible with Christianity in the back of our minds. And so we find ways to excuse certain behaviors or to try and see the happy, good side of God in a lot of what we're reading, not understanding the truth of the Most High, and that everything that he does is just, and everything that transpires and happens has an explanation that is rooted in righteousness and wickedness that you will never understand with a religious mindset. Like, growing up in church gives you the false impression, gives you a false impression about God. It gives you a false impression about what life and what, this whole thing that we're doing is really all about. And it's important to understand how to read the Bible without that religious framework because then you can actually comprehend some of what you're reading and really get the context. Because of Christianity being in everyone's mind, you can't read the Bible and understand the context. You read the words, but there's a lot that you miss concerning what's really going on. And so it's important that when we come into these classes, that's why we open up the book and we read it, the Bible, and we read it. We don't go to pamphlets in this book and that book. We go to the Bible, we read it and get some context, get some history background. We go to other scriptures, precept upon precept, to really get an understanding of what it is that's being stated, because that's how the Bible was intended for us to understand it. You know what I'm saying? The Bible tells us how to read it throughout the scriptures, but you have to be taught, the certain precepts, Isaiah 29 and 10. You know what I'm saying? Who shall the Most High teach knowledge, and who shall he give understanding? Those who are weaned from the milk. You know what I'm saying? Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. There is a way that we were instructed to read this Bible, to understand it, to know how to take these words and apply them to our lives. You're not taught that in church. And because we're not taught that in church, we read the Bible and really don't understand what it is we're reading, and we don't know how to apply it and don't know how it makes sense to the life that we're living today. Well, this class is going to be one of those ones where we go into the Bible and read about something that took place thousands of years ago, but show you exact correlations and parallels to the world that we're in today and what's happening today, and show you that the people that we read about in the past are the same people that are living this life over again in the earth today. Meaning, you read about Joseph and the Israelites and the Hebrews. That's Black people in America. That's Latino and Native Indian people in America. You read about Pharaoh and the hatred they had for the Israelites, and the racism in Egypt, and the segregation in Egypt, and the policies that they enacted in the government to destroy the children of Israel. That's white people today. That's America. That's Donald Trump. That's the government today. You may not believe that. You may not believe that because of religion, because of what you've been taught. But the Bible is very clear in showing us that history has always repeated itself. And the people living on the earth are, in many ways, living cyclical existences, meaning the things taking place in this generation are things that took place in previous generations. And you can go in the Bible and see several iterations of that. You understand? Slavery was prophesied in the Bible in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Literal slavery on ships, everybody being shipped around. God warned the children of Israel about that when they came out of Egypt. Then we went into slavery in 1492, starting with Christopher Columbus shipping us on boats. You understand? The colonization that took place of the children of Israel during the days of the Greeks is recorded in the books of 1st and 2nd Maccabees, how they conquered us, stripped us of our laws, stripped us of our identity, told us that we couldn't speak our native language, we couldn't, circumcise our children, forcibly removing from us our identity and our culture. It's the same way that we were colonized when the Europeans came here to America. It's the same way they dealt with the Native Indians and they dealt with the slaves and the whole roots and Kunta Kinte, and you can't speak your language, you can't worship your God, you can't, wear your native clothing, you got to cut your hair, shave your beard. All the things that were done to us to colonize us and to create us to being what a reflection of what our oppressor wanted us to be is recorded in the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees. It's the same people living out the same history under the same oppressor. And that's the gift of wisdom and understanding that you can receive if you learn to read the Bible without the veil of religion. Is something that's really life-changing and a life-altering for a brother or sister who identify with the people that this Bible was written for. Christianity, religion, was structured to stop us to make sure that we would never read this Bible and identify ourselves with the people that are in it. But the reality is we should identify with the people that are in it because we are those people. Living in this generation, experiencing the things that we've experienced in previous generations, and having the solutions and the warnings from God of what's going to happen next if we take heed and change course, or if we refuse to acknowledge that we're these people and go down the same path that they went down. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm being clear on what I'm trying to express to you, but it's so important to remove the veil of Christianity from your mind when you go to read the Bible, because you cannot understand it contextually if you're reading it with the good, loving everybody God in the back of your mind. That God does not exist in this book. The God that loves everybody and wants everybody to be at peace and wants everybody to live happily and doesn't want anybody to be hurt and harmed is not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible has a people who he chose and gave them instructions, and there were warnings to those people if they did not obey those instructions. And there's warnings to everybody else, which is the blessings for those people if they obey. God has always established the earth with hierarchy in mind. Somebody's going to be in ruling, and somebody's going to be in power, and someone's going to be subject. Someone's going to be under authority. Right now, our oppressor is ruling, and we are under their authority. But if we can learn the lessons of the past and get back on the path of obeying the Most High and being the people he called us to be, then we will be back in authority, and everyone else will be subject unto us. So the reason why they wanted to make sure we would never learn the truth of who we were and never identify ourselves with this people in the book is because they know that us returning to knowledge of self, returning to our culture and our history spells the end of their empire, and nobody who's in power wants their empire to end. Everybody understands. Let's go ahead and get into it. I see the camera slipping again. Try to see if I can switch it before I cut out. Bear with me. This camera thing really is been a drag on the classes for the last week or so, man. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Now it's unable to access the camera. Okay. Okay. Hold on. All right. All right. So now, with all that being stated, let's go ahead and get into Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. All right. So this is Exodus 1 and 8. It says, "Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land." If you want to understand why our oppressor hates us so much, why there's so much persecution of blacks and Latinos and Native Indians in this land called America, it is because our oppressor, the white man, is deathly afraid of us coming together and overthrowing them. They are so afraid that if a war breaks out and they have to go fight their enemies, that they are going to lose because within their ranks, we are going to rise up and overthrow them. I know a lot of black people don't understand why we're hated so much. You look at the history of this country and you look at the history of the cruel treatment of blacks and Hispanics, the denial of our basic human rights. Everybody knows about the history of Jim Crow and redlining and denying us the right to vote. And when the soldiers came home from World War II, they redlined the districts, and the government wouldn't give housing loans and wouldn't let us buy houses in certain areas. And there's a whole history of cruelty and evil against black people. And a lot of our people don't understand why. Why do they hate us so much? They hate us because they are afraid. They are afraid because they know the evil that they've done to us historically, and they know that what goes around comes around. What a man reaps is what he shall sow. And they know that they have sown cruelty and genocide and evil, and they are worried about the day that they have to reap it. You understand? So just so you can rest assured and understanding why all of this evil has transpired, it is because the white man is deathly afraid of us. Well, guess what? They were afraid of us in the land of Egypt. They were afraid, and they thought that one day we would rise up. Why? Because we had multiplied so much. How did the children of Israel multiply more than the Egyptians? Because we were blessed to have, more children than them. We have always been a people who have had, been very fruitful. The Lord blesses the union between a man and a woman. The children of Israel, we go down and have that sex. A black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, we get with our woman and lay down. We putting babies in that woman. pinning her through the mattress and planting seed, and the Lord is honoring it, and we making babies. You understand? We were outpopulating the Egyptians, which is what made them afraid. The same way, guess what? What are we doing today? What is the great fear that the white man has? It's called the great replacement theory. Preceding Donald Trump becoming president and all of this outward evil against black people, these conservatives have been talking for 20 years about how we were going to outnumber them, about how there was going to come a day where white people were no longer the majority. Well, how is it that white people went from being the majority to them being afraid that they're not going to be the majority anymore? They were being outsexed. They're being outpopulated, outbred, because no one breeds like a black man. No one makes children like a Puerto Rican, like a Mexican, like an El Salvadorian. You understand? Like a Cuban and a Dominican and a Haitian. Who has more sex than black men? Whose women are as beautiful and makes them want to have sex as much as black and Latino women? You understand? The same way that we were outnumbering the Egyptians and they got afraid, we have been outnumbering white people and they have been getting afraid. And in their fear, they said, come and let us deal wisely with them. Let us find a way to deal with them so that we can dwindle down their numbers, so that we can get them out of the land. What do you think all of this, what's the department that Christy Long worked for? Where they deporting people. What do you think all these deportations is about? It's about getting rid of all of these Latinos because there's so many of them. Americans are afraid. The white man is afraid. The white man knows he cannot deal evil and harshly with black people, with all these goddamn Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and, Costa Ricans running around. So they're using deportation to get a lot of us out of the land of America so that when they start to come down evilly on black people, we won't have help. We won't have assistance. We won't have our, Latino brothers and sisters there to help us. So the same way that they looked at us today and said, man, we are being outpopulated, the great replacement theory, and these white people are afraid, they were afraid in Egypt. You understand? But let's understand that before Pharaoh looked at the growing numbers of the children of Israel and felt that there was a need to be afraid because of how many of us there were, notice that in Exodus 1:8, it says there rose up a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. You understand? Why is it important that this Pharaoh did not know Joseph? It's important because if the Pharaoh had known Joseph, the Pharaoh would have known there was nothing to fear from these children of Israel. Even though we were great in number, even though we were multiplying, we were never a threat to the Egyptians. Why? Because the Most High did not put us in Egypt for us to overthrow the Egyptian government and to be a great Egyptian nation. The same way that the Lord did not put us in America to overthrow the Americans and be a great American empire. The fear that our oppressor has of us is one that is born of ignorance. It's one that is born of not really knowing the true nature of us as a people and not knowing the history that we've had with these people, with the oppressor, right? Black people, in all of our years of suffering and all of our years of oppression and all of our years of being conquered and ruled over by white people, there's never been a revolt for us to take control, take power, and to go and expand our territory like white people did to us. We have a completely different spirit than our oppressor. We just want to be left alone, man. We just want to be, free to live our lives the way that we want to live. We don't have ambitions of conquering and ruling the world and enslaving other people and putting other nations under our foot. That's not the spirit that the Lord gave us. If you go and look at, the Civil War, you go and look at the Jim Crow era and all of that. You go look at Black Wall Street and all these different instances where the white man has come and destroyed our communities and taken over the things that we built up. At no point in any of our history were we ever a threat to America. But our oppressor, just like our oppressor, has forgotten the history. They have forgotten who we are. You understand? They have not studied what our desires and our ambitions are, which is why they are afraid. A lot of the fear that white people have of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians is it's their self projection, because the white man is cruel, because the white man is evil, because the white man is a serial unaliver and a serial, conqueror. He's afraid that we're the same way. We're not the same way. In Egypt, they had to wipe the history clean of the contributions of Joseph in order for the new Pharaoh that rose up to not know who Joseph was. And it's the same thing happening today. There are white children being born and raised in this country for the last 20 years who do not know of the contributions of black people. They don't know of the greatness of all the inventions that black people have contributed to the society. They don't recognize, that America would not be where it is without black contribution. You know what has never been talked about? And I grew up in public schools. I went to some of the best public schools in America. I remember going to school in Montgomery County, Maryland. Montgomery County, Maryland, which is a suburb outside of DC, has top 5 best counties of public schooling in the country. You understand? And I grew up in an era where, I went to international baccalaureate schools and took college courses in 11th grade. And I was one of them super smart on the top, percentile of black students. And there's a lot that I learned being fast tracked into that gifted and talented, not pedestal, not the word I'm looking for, but it's like the echelon. I was among the upper echelon of high achieving, intelligent students. And I was never taught any of the greatness of black contributions to America. There's so much that I learned after I got out of school about the greatness that black people contributed to this country that school never taught us. And because of that, growing up in the 90s and growing up in the early 2000s, my only perception of black people is what I was seeing on the news. My perception of being black is we drug dealers and we gangsters and we killers. And, there was a freedom struggle. We marched and protested. But even in the history of the civil rights movement, America does nothing to tell you about how educated these black people were, how accomplished they were with degrees and going to school and writing dissertations. It wasn't until I got a grown man that I was able to study men like Frederick Douglass and find out this cat went to college and got degrees and was writing speeches and was delivering great, delivering speeches. It wasn't until I got older that I learned about men like W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. And, these are great black men that contributed a wealth of knowledge and assistance to America that helped it to become a civilized society. These are black people that had a voice and had platforms that did a lot in terms of civil rights, not just for black people, but for women and all types of things. You know what I'm saying? But the schooling system made sure not to teach us about the greatness of black people and their contributions. I didn't learn about the wind talkers in World War II. America won World War II against the Japanese because Native Indians were in the military and were using their native language to communicate, and the Japanese could not decipher it. And because of using the Native Indian wind talkers, America was able to win World War II. Don't you know we were taught nothing of that in school? Being born in the 80s and learning about Vietnam, they didn't say anything about the black contributions to Vietnam. Learning about the Civil War, they didn't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of black people died fighting for both the South and the North. They completely erased black contributions from the history books. So the people of the present generation grow up not knowing of any of the great. I grew up thinking black people always was on crack, always was trying to be gangsters and pimps, always trying to scheme. And so you grow up thinking, oh, we ain't shit. Well, that's what they did in Egypt. In Egypt, they erased Joseph's contributions to Egypt from the history books. So everybody grew up thinking, oh, these just some sheep herders is out there having sex in the goddamn woods and multiplying. So they was afraid. They had no idea of the contributions of Joseph and how the Lord used this black man among these Egyptians to make their nation great. Let's go back and read. What didn't the Pharaoh know about Joseph. And why was it important? How did not knowing this history of Joseph contribute to the evil of the Egyptians towards the Hebrews? It's the same way today. They are erasing black history. You understand? Donald Trump and the administration is putting up statues of Confederate soldiers and men, forefathers down. I just saw this on the White House. Not on the White House, but downtown DC this past weekend for Memorial Day. They put up like 12 statues of, forefathers of America, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and this guy and that guy, all former slave owners. All cats that's known famously for having slaves and having servants, and America's getting ready to celebrate 250 years. Well, as they're getting ready to celebrate 250 years, they are working hard to erase black people and our contributions from the history books. And in doing that, they erase the greatness of how tied we are to the success of this nation, how tied we are to the prosperity of this nation. And if you can erase the history of our contributions and erase the history of our ties to the prosperity of this nation, it makes it easier to deal cruelly with us, because you look at our present condition and say, man, it's just a bunch of poor welfare, gangster pimping, hoeing, slutting, popping pussy people that don't have no morals and no rules, and they gay and trans, and they stand for everything evil, and that allows them to program into the youth. These people don't deserve any, humanity. They don't deserve to be respected. They don't deserve to live, and they're a great threat because look at how angry they are towards us. Imagine white people taking away voting rights after 60 years and then looking at black people's reaction and saying, see, look, these people are so uncivilized. They're just violent. Imagine looking at Chud the Builder going out calling black people nigger to their face, nigger, nigger, nigger. A black man punch him and he shoot him, and then white people on the internet saying, see, man, these monkeys always chimping out. They're so violent. They can't even handle words. It's so evil. The propaganda and the mind tricks that these people try to play with us. But it's all due to them having already wiped out our history from the books. All right, let's go back to Joseph. All right, so this is let's get Genesis chapter 41. All right. So Genesis chapter 41. Okay, Genesis 41. Pharaoh, who's over Egypt at the time, has a dream. And it's a dream that's troubling to him, and he doesn't understand it. And he's trying to find somebody to interpret this dream for him. There's a brother who's in prison in Egypt. And this brother's been in prison for quite some time. But he's a man who God has given the gift of interpretation of dreams to. And as Pharaoh's looking for somebody to tell him what this dream means, there's a man who remembers about the cat in prison who can interpret dreams. And he remembers Joseph. You understand? Let's understand this about Egypt. Egypt was a place of bondage. It was a place of captivity. Joseph was in jail in Egypt. You understand? Joseph came to Egypt as a refugee, as an immigrant. Joseph never did anything wrong, but an Egyptian lied on him, and Joseph went to prison. Isn't that the story of so many Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people in this country? If there's one thing America is known for across the earth, is it not their prisons? Is it not known to everybody that, man, you go to America and, they don't like you, they will throw you in prison, throw you in jail, and forget about you. Well, Joseph was one of the men that suffered that. You understand? And it was in Pharaoh having this dream that a man remembered about Joseph and went and got Joseph. We're going to start there with the brother going and getting Joseph, all right? This is Genesis chapter 41. This is verse 12. It says, and there was with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream did he interpret. And it came to pass as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came into Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in the meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored, and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as at the beginning. So I awoke, and I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears withered, thin and blasted, with the east wind sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it unto me. So Pharaoh had a dream. He describes the dream to Joseph, right? And he's trying to find somebody to make him understand this dream, but there's nobody to tell him. Let's read verse 25. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dream of Pharaoh is one. God has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh, what God is about to do, he shows unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, and the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had, and they cried before him, Bow the knee, and he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paaneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Poti-Pherah, priest of On. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. Now, Joseph was made second in command of all of Egypt because the power of the Lord was with Joseph to be able to interpret dreams. And if you read on from Genesis 41, from verse 46 down, it tells you of all the glory that Joseph brought to Egypt because of the storing up during the 7 years of plenty. Egypt was the only place where you could get food in that region during the 7 years of famine. And it was that 7 years of famine when everybody was starving that Egypt was able to be the storehouse for everybody in the region to set prices at whatever they wanted to set them at, and to be able to basically get rich and wealthy because everybody had to come to Egypt for help. Joseph is who was responsible for making Egypt a regional superpower. Joseph's contributions is what made Egypt great and amazing. Joseph's contributions is why the Hebrews were able to be accepted into Egypt and given the land of Goshen. The Egyptians were so racist and so supremacist that they erased that history of Joseph. Even now, you go and you look in the history of Egypt, there's a lot of Egyptologists, people that study Egypt historically as a belief system, religiously. There's several key figures in the history of Egypt that they think may have been Joseph, but they don't know why, because the Egyptians had a tradition of wiping out the history. New king rose up, they just erased everything the previous kings had done and got rid of all of the records of what had previously been done because they wanted the glory and praise for themselves. Well, that is exactly the same way that American history is. American history is built on the people who are in condition presently wanting the glory and praise for themselves, so they erase the contributions of everybody who contributed before. The same way you cannot go in the Egyptian records and clearly ascertain who were the Hebrews and what time period did Joseph rule in Egypt. If the earth is still in the same condition it's in 300 years from now, you would never know about black people living in America. You would never know about black people's contributions. You would never know that Michael Jordan was a descendant of the slaves. You would never know LeBron James was a descendant of the slaves. You wouldn't know Victor Wembanyama was a descendant of the slaves, because our oppressor is working hard to erase that history. How do I know that? Because in 2026, we don't know that King James was a black man. We don't know that Beethoven was black and Mozart was black and Shakespeare was black. They whitewashed the history, and we don't even know that these people in history were black. That is our oppressor. That's the white man. That's Egypt. They have always had not religious, but they've had a policy of erasing history, whitewashing history. That's what the Renaissance era was about. Now, I'm showing you just in the last 500 years of life on Earth how the powers that be have erased the history and the contributions of black people. The Bible is telling us about it thousands of years ago with the Egyptians. You read about the greatness that this man Joseph contributed to the society. How could there ever be a Pharaoh that would raise up that wouldn't know Joseph, that wouldn't understand the history of the connection of these Hebrews to this society? Well, ask yourself, how could a man like Donald Trump grow up and not know the contributions of black people? How could somebody like Pete Hegseth exist and not recognize the contributions of black people to the society? How is it that someone like Stephen Miller or any devil in the government today, all of these Republicans and these conservative devils that don't want to acknowledge the contributions of black people, how could they grow up and act like we didn't make this place great? You look at America as a superpower on the earth. What makes America, what occurred in America that enabled this country to be greater than all the other nations on the earth? What did America have that made it greater than Japan and China? What made America greater than Germany and France and Great Britain? What did America have that made it be able to go to war with Russia and Korea and Cambodia? You understand? And Vietnam. What has made America so great that they were able to amass such wealth and such power to be the prominent force on the earth? It's black slaves. Black and Hispanic Native Indian slaves is what made America greater than all these other countries. The thing that has fueled the success of America for the last 250 years is black people. All of the innovations, all of the inventions, all of the mathematics and the science and the warrior abilities on the battlefield comes from black people, comes from Native Indians, comes from Latinos. America would not be great without us. You understand? But because of the concerted efforts of these powers that be to erase our contributions from the history books, there's a generation of white people that present on the earth today that do not know of the greatness of black people. They don't know that this country would not be nothing if it wasn't for God's people being here. Hell, they even erased the history of us being God's people. Which goes to show you that it's just like Egypt. Now let's keep going on. Let's go. So we went back into Genesis chapter 41. We read about Joseph and him interpreting a dream that made Egypt rise up to be a great power, right? Starting in verse 12. And read down to what? Verse 42, right? Read down to verse 45, right? Now let's drop that. Genesis chapter 41, verse 12 to 45. Now let's drop that. Let's get to where Pharaoh's heart began to get hardened against the children of Israel, right? So we read in Exodus chapter 1 how there rose up a new Pharaoh that didn't know about Joseph, didn't know about the contributions of the Hebrews and how they made this place great, right? Let's get let's look at the policy they put in place. Let's look at what they decided to do against the children of Israel. Let's get Exodus chapter 1, verse 12, and then we'll drop down to verse 16. All right. Go to Exodus chapter 1, verse 12. Now, this is the Egyptians dealing wisely with the children, with the Hebrews, because of this threat that they perceived, right? Because this Pharaoh rose up that didn't know about Joseph and didn't know about the contributions of the Israelites or the Hebrews to Egyptian society. And in his fear, he wanted to do something evil to make sure that we couldn't rise to power. And let's see what the Bible says about that. So this is Exodus chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 12 now. Exodus 1 and 12 says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Is that not America today? Think of all the evil, cruel things that America has done to black people. And we could just go from the 60s. Let's go from the introduction to the Voting Rights Act. America has put crack cocaine, heroin, they took the jobs out of the black communities, shut down the factories and sent them to China, sent them to India. They robbed us of our economic power, introduced drugs into our communities, sent religious institutions like the Seventh-day Adventists and the Mormons and the Pentecostal church and the Methodist church, all these different religious institutions to take our women and divide our families. They introduced mass incarceration to steal an entire generation of men. In the 70s, they passed Roe v. Wade, which created abortion rights, women's reproductive rights, which led to abortion and the, unaliving of millions and millions of black and Hispanic children since the 1970s. And all the evil that have been purposed against black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, what have we continued to do? We've continued to outsex and outbreed white people. The more that they've afflicted us and grieved us, the more that we've risen and triumphed in it. Imagine white people gave us crack and we turned it into gangster music. White people gave us crack cocaine, which was to wipe out an entire generation. And we created an entire music of rap based off of the oppression and the cruelty that they tried to put us through. They gave us crack and we became NBA players, NFL players, become millionaires. They gave us all the religions and all the churches and all the, homosexuality and the pedophilia and the evil that they've done to us. And yet in 2026, we still standing here saying the white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Do you know how infuriated these white people are at you? Do you know how jealous they are of your enduring spirit, of your refusal to just lay down and die and quit? You know how pissed off they are that you continue to fight and continue to believe and continue to trust in your God? And everything they've done to wipe us out, guess what? We just keep coming back. We refuse to die because the Spirit of the Lord is in us. And that is what makes them hate us even more. Again, you want to know why they hate you? You want to know why their heart is so hard against black people? It's because they cannot defeat us. Yeah, they conquered us. They enslaved us. They committed genocide against us. And yet in 2026, black women getting more degrees than any other ethnic group in the country. There's more economic power in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community than in any of these other communities in the country. Our resilient spirit is what makes them hate us. Everybody understand? Exodus 1:12 again. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Verse 13, I'm going to drop down to verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Pua. So now, this, you read this, and it may sound like it's talking to one or two women. These two midwives in Egypt were over an entire industry of midwifery. You understand? This is national politics that we're reading about in the Bible. The Bible, again, you have to remove the veil of Christianity and religion to understand the Bible. As the Bible's talking about Egypt and the Egyptians dealing harshly with the children of Israel, this is not one neighborhood. This is not one community. This is on a national scale. This is the entire country of Egypt, which is a giant, big country at this time with a lot of different people, a lot of different ethnic groups. But the threat were the Israelites, the Hebrews, because of us outbreeding. The same way in America today, you got East Indians, you got Chinese, you got Koreans and Vietnamese and all these different ethnic groups of people. Who's the threat? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Why are we the threat? Because we're the ones that they know can overthrow them. The white man know he got the East Indian in check. He know he got the Chinese in check. He know he got the Koreans and the Vietnamese in check. Who is he afraid of? Those blacks and those Hispanics. Those Native Indians. They are the real threat. Why? Because we are the children of God. These other nations are not a threat to overthrow the white man. Everybody understands. So that's why they're dealing harshly with us. And so as we read in Exodus chapter 1, verse 15, this is a national decree. This is Pharaoh going to the women in charge of the midwives of all of Egypt. So this is government policy being passed. Let's read about the government policy that was established in Egypt to destroy and erase the Hebrew presence in that land. This is Exodus 1:15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Pua. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. Everybody understands? This was a national decree that was passed in Egypt. Any woman that did midwife duties for Hebrews, if it was a boy, kill the boy, which is what? Abortion. If the woman has a boy, abort the baby. She has a girl, let the baby live. Why? Why abort the boys but let the women live? Because the threat of overthrowing a nation never comes from the women. The threat of overthrowing a nation never comes from the women. And right now, there's a conversation being had on the internet of the power and the strength of black women and how black women have been on the forefront of all of these radical movements and all of these protests and all of these changes in this country. And the sad reality is, black women, you have been used and abused by white people to fight and argue on their behalf for programs and policies that have never benefited you or your community. And it is a sad thing for us to have to recognize and realize in 2026, none of the things that black women have been protesting, petitioning, and speaking eloquently about has had any impact in the black community. Which is why white people have never had no problem giving black women those platforms, giving black women, those opportunities to speak and to be heard and to, have the limelight. Black women, you are not a threat to the status quo of America. You are not a threat to changing, the dynamics of how this country operates and how this country runs, which is why, again, they have had no problem with platforming you. Which is why they have had no problem with putting you at the forefront. Well, guess what? It was the same thing in Egypt. They said if there's a man-child born, you cannot let him live. But if it's a girl, you can let the girls live. The girls aren't, that's not the threat. That's not the problem. The problem is these men children. Why? Because men children grow, boy children grow into men. And men don't forget the past. Men don't take the buyout. Men can't easily be manipulated to fighting and standing for the oppressor. And so you look at the last 50 years in this country, who has been under constant attack? It's been the black man, the Latino man, and Native Indian man. And as I say that, I'm not dividing black men and black women. I'm not saying that black women haven't been under attack. Native and Hispanic women haven't been under attack. You absolutely have been under attack. But what made the attack on the black woman, the Hispanic woman, and Native Indian woman possible was the shackling of the black man, the dwindling down of the strength and the force of the black man. The white people would never have been able to do any of the evil that they've done to black women over the last 60 years if they had not first drugged and destroyed and robbed the black men of their authority and their power in their communities. And so the same policy that was instituted here in America to destroy black people and to, cause dysfunction in our communities, it was enacted in Egypt. You understand? These are the conditions of the hard heart that Pharaoh had and why the Lord came to deliver the children of Israel. The same policies that were instituted in Egypt, our oppressor in America has instituted. And the same way the Lord looked down and saw the evil of Pharaoh against his people, God is looking down and seeing the evil of America against his people today. And it's necessary for us to understand that the same end goal that Pharaoh and the Egyptians had, your oppressor has for you today. And if you can understand that, then what does that mean for us? What does that mean for where we go from here? What are we supposed to do to stop our oppressor from accomplishing their goals? We're going to have to do what the children of Israel did in Egypt. And let's go ahead and we're going to start getting to that next. Let's go first. Let me get you the New Testament, what Christ said. And it may be hard listen, we live in a society now where our oppressor is using this red pill, white male patriarchal, incel content to demonize femininity, demonize women. There's a lot of propaganda that is being pushed on young men. And this is not just young black men, this is young men, period. There's a lot of propaganda being pushed on young men that women aren't valuable, that women ain't shit. You just use them for sex and they're supposed to shut up and sit down and be naked and cook and bake. And it is absolutely evil and a lie. You understand? The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, because of the Bible, we understand the importance of a woman's value outside of her vagina. We understand the necessity of building a woman up to be more than just what she can do sexually, more than what she can do pleasure-wise. And so in this place, we encourage our women to go to school and get degrees. We encourage our women to be able to, ascend to high heights in their careers and in their capacity, to be an economic asset for their family. Go and get that money. Go and be the CEO. Go and you a CNA, go and be an RN. You understand? You're starting out in the mail room, Go and become the manager. You understand? You got a gift to be able to write and speak eloquently. Go to college, baby. Get that degree so you can go ahead and get that nice corporate job, that good position, or use your skills and your gifts as a business mind to, finances, operation, get us some grants, get us some this and that, make sure the paperwork's straight, make sure the taxes are taken care of, so we can go ahead and get this money and build this nation up. But there is a concerted effort being made by our oppressor to teach men to not value women with degrees, to not value women with economic power, to believe that, it's a lot of bitch assness. I'm trying to find an eloquent way to say it. But they're teaching these men to be bitches, to basically be gay. Don't use a woman for anything except for making children and dismiss everything else. That is not what God says about the value of a woman. You read in the Bible, Proverbs 31, a lot, and again, you have to read the Bible without the veil of Christianity. The Proverbs 31 woman is what we would call today a boss bitch. That's a woman who's educated and accomplished, has skills and gifts and abilities, and guess what? She goes and she does what she needs to do to get that money, to secure things for her household, for her children, for the sisters in her life. You know what I'm saying? For her maidens. She goes and becomes great and amazing, and her husband supports it. And because she's great and amazing, it makes her husband shine, and it improves the quality of their household and their standing in society. And it is an amazing, beautiful thing. But black women, if you are all those things, as Proverbs 31 says a woman should be, and you don't have a man, then your value is being diminished. Your value is being thrown away. Because that greatness that God has given a woman is meant to be to the benefit of her man and the building up of their nation. You understand? And there's a lot of women right now that are accomplished, and they have every right to not want to deal with a man who cannot handle that, who does not know how to be responsible over that, who does not know how to shepherd over all of their accomplishments and all of their financial resources. At the same time, though, because of the attack on men, sisters have to acknowledge and just recognize the reality that there's not a lot of good men. And so a lot of you good, accomplished women are going to have to accept that you may not be able to have a good man to yourself. And in not being able to have that good man to yourself, we have to mature and grow together to know, well, what does that mean? How do we function as a family? How do we function as a village? If this man is going to have 3 wives and all of them are accomplished and financially stable and they're working good jobs, who's taking care of the kids? You know what I'm saying? How are we going to make sure we manage this and that? You have to find a man that's worthy of handling all of that and then get under him. But the reason why women struggle with that so much is because the concerted effort that our oppressor has taken to destroy the black man and rob him of his strength and his spirit and his authority, to where when women hear what I just said, they say to themselves, not me, I ain't settling for no shit like that. I'm not going to deal with no this and that. And it's because in their mind, the man I'm telling them that they're going to have to share is the nigga that they used to. The man that I'm saying you're going to have to get up under, you thinking about your baby daddy. I am not talking about sharing your baby daddy. The man I'm talking about you're going to have to share with 2 other women is not your father, who was drunk and, not present and, sneaking around town and blowing his checks and bills being late. We ain't talking about that kind of man. We're talking about men who's, as the Lord describes a man, men who are free, men with knowledge and wisdom and understanding, men who are righteous, men who don't lie, men who are not going to sell you dreams, men who are not going to make promises and don't keep them, men who are going to give you their word and be held accountable at their word. And you know that they held accountable because you are a part of the structure that they are a part of. Our oppressor has worked so hard to stop that from being a reality that we have to fight through all of what this class is about tonight in order to be able to come together and love one another and build what it is the Lord wanted us to build. Everybody understands. But let's go in the New Testament and show you what Christ said about the destruction of the black family, the destruction of the black woman. the destruction of the black child. All right. Let's get Matthew chapter 29, Matthew chapter 12, verse 29. Matthew chapter 12, verse 29. All right, this is again showing the same thing that we see in Exodus chapter 1, verse 15, where the men children were the threat to Egypt. The men children were the ones targeted for destruction, not the female children. Because although women can be powerful in a movement, they have a great ability and a skill to inspire and to push a movement forward. They are not the muscle that makes a movement cause real tangible change. And there's a lot of black women in America today who feel like they have been the champions of social change in this country, and they have in many instances, but none of that social change that they have championed has actually benefited or helped the black community. There can be no benefit and no change and no impactful change in the black community without black men being at the forefront, being the muscle to lead that change. You understand? And our oppressor knows that, which is why for the last 60 years, they've targeted black men, targeted our authority, targeted our economic strength, targeted, our decency and respect in our community, in our households, in our families. Because without the black man being in charge, without the black man being the one who's leading, then the family is doomed to not progress anywhere. Everybody understands. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 29. It says, or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. The black man's house, what is in the black house that was necessary to be protected and preserved? We are people that came out of slavery. We are people that at one time had nothing. You know what we did have, though, as black people? We had our families. We had our wives. We had our children. You look at movies like the Jackson movie. They wanted to paint Joe Jackson to be evil and bad so much. Look, Joe Jackson probably beat them kids. He took the belt to Michael, took the belt to them kids. Now, I know many of us in this present generation haven't grown up in big families. I grew up the third grandchild of 7 children that was born to my grandmother and grandfather. And I grew up in my grandparents' house. And I would hear stories from my parents, from my mother growing up, and my uncles, of how when they used to get spankings, they would all get spankings at the same time. There's 7 kids in the house. They would be bad for weeks. And daddy would come home from work and grandma would give daddy the report of who did what and what bad happened. And daddy, being a hardworking man, I can't come and punish these kids every day. I can't discipline them every day. But when the time came when my grandfather was fed up and had enough, when he went to spank the children, all 7 of them got a spanking at the same time. He lined everybody up outside the room, called them in one at a time, and spanked them. Now, I got one spanking in my life from my grandfather for doing something horribly evil with a cousin that I wasn't supposed to be doing. That one spanking my grandfather gave me was nigh unto torture. It was nigh unto abuse. But you know what? I never did that shit that got me that spanking ever again in life. I never again in life did what I did to get that spanking that my grandfather gave me. And I'm saying that to say, 60 years ago, those black men over those households had what they were equipped with, what they knew was discipline. They were equipped with what they knew was, getting the child in check, getting the child right. And if Joe Jackson, to make his kids to be great, thought and felt that he needed to spank and beat the softness out of his boy Michael, to spank the smartness out of his boy, the smart talking backness out of his boy, then that's what he did. And guess what? Michael Jackson and his family was all right. Them spankings that Joe Jackson gave them raised those 8 kids to be superstars and singers and dancers that's world famous and world renowned. You know what? Maybe Joe Jackson's spankings weren't so horrible and evil. Now, there's speculations on other stuff that he did. Who knows? But you know what I do know? I know Joe Jackson got a whole family, a woman and children, out of Gary, Indiana, and took them to the world stage. I know I got it. That spanking my grandfather gave me was nigh unto torture, nigh unto the most horrible thing I've ever experienced in my life. But you know what I know about my grandfather? He raised 7 children in Washington, D.C. in the midst of the crack epidemic, and nobody in my family ever went to jail. None of my uncles ever caught a case. None of them ever shot and killed nobody, to my knowledge. We had a couple family members dabble in drugs, just like everybody dabbled in drugs. But my grandfather ushered a family through the most horrible period of black existence on the planet, and they turned out all right. So those spankings and beatings was worth it, was necessary. Now look at how many of us have grown up without parents. How many of us grown up, in households where there weren't 2 parents? How many of us don't even know what it's like to see a mother and a father being together? I'm at my house now with a daughter and a son, and I'm looking at them every day, and it's amazing me how different their life is going to be from a lot of people that they know. Because of all I'm thinking of cats that I've known in the last 5 years that had children. Almost none of them are with the woman anymore. It's like so many kids are growing up without families, without their parents, without the thing they need to be successful. And it's because of the attack that was put against the black man. You cannot spoil the goods in a man's house until you first tie up that man. And our oppressor tied up black men with crack cocaine. They tied us up with alcoholism. They tied us up with gangster culture, pimp culture. They tied us up with making our women whores. They tied us up with sexual deviancy. They tied us up with marijuana and with taking our jobs away. They tied us up with giving our women economic strength and power and robbing us of the ability to do the same in many instances. You understand? They robbed us psychologically. Okay. I've been in the truth for some years, but I've recently come to discover that there's a lot of mental illnesses that brothers and sisters have that is undiagnosed, because we don't even know that the things that are normal to us aren't normal. We've been toyed with psychologically. There's a massive attack against the black family that started with binding up the black man. Well, now the Lord in the ISUPK and in the Bible, the Lord is raising up men that is reversing that is breaking the bonds of the trap and the snares that our oppressor set. Even though Pharaoh and them passed their policy to unalive those male children, the Lord made sure that one male made it out, and that was Moses. And the Lord used Moses to raise up all the fears that the Egyptians had were manifested in Moses. The same way all the fears America has of black people today are going to be manifested in the men, the priests, and the prophets of the ISUPK and the Commanding General Yohana. Why? Because we are bringing the truth of Christ. We are resurrecting the brotherhood and the righteousness of the Most High in the earth. And there is no stopping that. There is no combating that. There is no fighting that. And that's what our oppressor knows. Everybody understands? So let's drop that. We got in Matthew chapter 12, verse 29. Now we're going to go to when Moses was raised up. You understand? Go to when Moses was raised up. Let me see. Let's see. Hold up. Got the midwives fed God. Got the birth of Moses, Exodus 2. Let's get Exodus. Hold on. Matter of fact, let's get Exodus chapter 2. and verse 11. All right, so the Egyptians passed a policy of aborting Israelite male children, keeping the women alive. The midwives, who they believed in God, they feared God, they knew that it was evil to abort children. They didn't go through with that policy that was erected in Egypt, and because of it, there was the birth of a young man named Moses. Now, the Egyptians, the Israelites the Hebrews were in such poverty at that time that Moses' mother didn't want to be caught with a child because of the policy about no male children. So she gave her child to one of Pharaoh's daughters, right? To a Egyptian woman. This Egyptian woman raised this child, which means that Moses was reared in the schooling of the Egyptians, a private school, so to speak. Moses was well versed in Egyptian culture, Egyptian knowledge and understanding, but Moses knew that he was a Hebrew. So it would be like someone who grows up in the white community, a black man, a Latino Native Indian man growing up in the suburbs, going to private schools and friends with white people, but he knows that he ain't like them. He knows because of how he's treated by the kids, how they talk to him and make fun of him, that he ain't really one of them. And so Moses always had this affinity and love for his people. You understand? So as he grows and becomes a man, let's read about the conflict that Moses faces being this privileged man raised in this society where his people are second-class citizens. The conflict that Moses faced when he recognized the evil that was being done to his people. And this is where a lot of black people are today. A lot of us are just waking up to the cruelty of America. We're just realizing, damn, so you mean the things that we read about in the 60s and the 50s are still happening today? Yes, they still hanging black people. They're still unaliving. They're still passing laws and rules to disenfranchise us and to destroy our communities. I watched a video the other day about this sister from Atlanta, old lady on the bus in Atlanta, talking about how they recently rerouted all the buses to not go through the black neighborhoods no more. Now the buses go around the city in some roundabout way that bypasses where all the poor black people are. And now her being an older black woman has to walk, 15, 30 minutes to a bus stop so she can go to work and get home every day. And she's saying to the young black men, they trying to kill us, man. These racist people, they doing what they always wanted to do, which is cutting us off from these services. And it's evil because we pay to ride the bus. I'm not doing nothing free, but they don't want me to live. And black people, we have to see that what this lady is saying is true. The boogeyman is real. And the boogeyman has always been here. He's never gone nowhere. We were lied to about living in a post-racial America. We were lied to about Barack Obama being the end of the evil and the hatred of Americans towards black people. And Donald Trump is the reality of that. And now that we're faced with that reality, we shouldn't be afraid. We shouldn't be angry at white people. We should just accept what they're showing us and say, okay, well, let's get to the drawing board and see what are we going to do next. Because joining them is not an option. I'm watching black people on the internet argue. There's leftist Democrat black people. There's conservative Republican black people who are on the internet calling for the arrest and the incarceration of one another. Leftist Democrat black people calling conservative Republican black people sellouts and traitors. And the conservative Republican black people saying, you Democrat leftists have no morality. You have no fear of God and no understanding of retribution. And I'm looking at both of them like, you're being played by the white man, both of y'all. Do you think that in either instance of whoever wins, that they're going to give a fuck about what happens to you and your people? The Democrats have never given a damn about the suffering and the plight of black people. The Republicans have never given a damn about the suffering and the plight of black people. So why would you, being gun-ho for either side, think that you are not as much a sellout as the other one? And what's going to happen is these white people are watching these conversations these black political people are having, and they are going to start unaliving them. They're going to start locking up black radical politicians. They're going to start unaliving black radical politicians, And they're going to shut all of the voices of these political black people up. And that's going to pave way for the truth to rise. It's going to pave way for black people to say, this politics thing is horrible, man. We got to not participate. Once we get to the business of fixing our own communities, black people are going to turn to the men who have the answers and the solutions, which is the men of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under command of General Yahana. And once black people turn to us, the conversation online, the rhetoric online is not going to be about left or right. It's going to be about right and wrong. And as the conversation shifts to what's right and wrong, we're going to start to get into this Bible and start to understand, what did God say we're supposed to do? How did God say we're supposed to live? And once that becomes the conversation, voting is off the table, because voting is not a solution that God gave people of oppression. Once the conversation becomes about right and wrong and we get in the Bible, now we don't want to integrate anymore, because integration was not something that was prescribed in the Bible. Once the conversation becomes about right and wrong, we're not going to want to join America or identify as Americans anymore. Why? Because God's people are the Israelites. Oh, and who are these Israelites? What did the Bible say was going to happen to these people that God chose? And then we're going to look over there in the Middle East and say, are these people in Israel who the Bible's talking about? No, is that them? Who is the Bible talking about? Who are the people who were put in slavery on ships? Who are the people who had their culture stripped from them? Who are the people who had their history wiped out and their heritage taken? Who are the people who lost the knowledge of themselves and the knowledge of their God and the knowledge of their culture? And once the conversation becomes about right and wrong and we get into the Bible, the earth is going to have to acknowledge that Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians are the chosen people of God. And then they're going to want to come and unalive us. Then they're going to, because they've erased all the civil rights, because they returned all the Voting Rights Act, because they've done away with the history of our greatness and contributions to this country, they are going to come for us. And when they come for us, our righteousness and standing with the Lord is what's going to deliver us, the same way our righteousness and standing with the Lord is what delivered us out of Egypt. And it's important that brothers and sisters begin now to prepare for that day, because it is an inevitability. Everything taking place in this country right now is the white man setting the stage for when he comes for the teachers of the truth of the Lord. They can demonize us and say that we were niggers and we were nothing and we never contributed anything, and no one's going to have a problem with them wiping us out. But it's not going to happen until after they erase all of these political leaders, after they erase all of these Christians in the church and these Muslims in the mosque. Like, there is a war that's taking place on social media right now. And we playing a part in it. The truth is in the middle of the battle right now on the internet. These interviews Captain Tazaryak is doing, these battles that we having on the streets, these classes that's being taught, in the spirit realm, the truth is overshadowing the lies. That Epstein files and the whole thing about the pedophilia and Donald Trump and his sons trading on the stocks, all of this stuff being public information is part of the truth being resurrected in the earth. And as everybody is knowing the truth about these other things going on, the truth about God is being revealed too. The truth about God's people is being revealed as well. And these devils cannot stand in the light of truth. So their war is against the truth. And how do you stomp out the truth? You have to stomp out the people that's teaching it. You got to demonize the people who are teaching it. You got to find a way to erase them. And all the stages are being set for that. The target of what's happening right now is not politicians, it's not Black, radical leftists, it's not conservative Republicans, it's us. Those niggas that's teaching that truth, yelling on that corner. The erosion of the First Amendment is not about stopping you from protesting against the government because of the politics. It's about stopping us from teaching on the streets, saying the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. It's about stopping us from being able to say that we are the people that you're reading about in the book of Exodus. And Pharaoh is the white man. The real threat to this place is the knowledge that is contained in this Bible. And because the religion is falling apart, people are starting to pick this book up for themselves. And as they're picking the book up for themselves, they're reading it and knowing they're not understanding what the hell is going on. And so because people are not understanding what's going on and the church can't give them answers, they're turning to alternative sources of information, which is the truth. And when they come here and they hear what we saying, it's mind-blowing, and they sharing it with other people. And they other people watching, and they asking questions, and we on these different social media apps. Every social media app they come out with, you know what happens? We get on there and start teaching the truth. It's whole social media apps the white man set up for dating, for slutting. You meet whores, and whores meet whoremongers on there. You know who's on there? Israelites teaching the truth. There's an app called Threads. You just go on there and type all day. I get on there and I drop the truth on Threads. The white man, everything he's doing to try to destroy us, the Lord is using the truth to wake people up. And the target in the end goal of these devils is to try to stomp out the truth. You understand? So, like, I went on a tangent, y'all, but let's go and show you in the book of Exodus what happened with Moses as Moses rose up as a man who was raised and taught in Egypt and benefited from a lifestyle of not being and living in oppression and growing up in the ghetto. Let's see how Moses dealt with the reality that even though he was living wealthy and had a good life, he was still counted among the oppressed people of Egypt. So this is Exodus chapter 2. No, Exodus 2. Let's get verse 10. It says, and the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days when Moses grew that he went out unto his brothers and looked upon their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brothers. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Moses was righteous. Moses loved his brothers. Moses was one of the black men, or he was one of the men that was not binded. And Moses looked and saw the goods of his house being spoiled. Moses looked and saw his brother being beaten, being oppressed, being dealt with cruelly. Moses saw a man's civil rights being violated. Moses saw a man being, police being using unnecessary force. Moses looked and made sure the coast was clear. Moses killed that Egyptian man. He saved his brother out of the hands of the oppressor. Moses delivered his brother out of the hands of the prey and hid his body in the sand, right? Verse 13. And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to them that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? Moses went out the next day and saw his brothers fighting now. Now the oppression has seeped into the community. And it's not just the oppressor beating the brothers, it's the brothers beating each other. And Moses come and say, damn, why you doing that to your brother, man? Why you smiting your brother? It's the same way we look in the ghetto today and we see brothers selling drugs and gang banging on each other and unaliving each other and having sex with each other's women. And we go out there and we street and say, man, black man, you got to start loving black men. You got to stop selling drugs, man. Stop doing evil to your people. We go out there and speak and say, why are y'all smiting each other? Why are we oppressing each other when the white man is the devil? Verse 14, and he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killed the Egyptian? Meaning this cat did not want nobody to tell him that smiting his brother was wrong. This cat did not want nobody telling him that oppressing his brother was wrong. And that's what exists among black people today. The number one enemy of the ISUPK are blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians that want to abuse other blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians the way the white man did. That's your politicians. Those are your Christian pastors. The threat of the truth is that those who have robbed and stolen and schemed and conspired against black people will lose their seat and their power. The Dr. Cheyenne Bryants, the T.D. Bishop Jakes, the Creflo Dollars, you understand? They are the ones who are threatened by what we teach, because what we teach is going to take away their influence and their capacity to take advantage of you and abuse you. The same way, again, the Dr. Cheyenne Bryant thing came out. Do you know that on the internet, there are black women who are clinical psychiatrists, professionals? They actually went to school, have their degrees, they have their masters, they have their dissertations, they have their records. And these black women were coming out saying that what Cheyenne Bryant is doing is dangerous to black people. Black people already have a stigma against therapy, against going and get therapy and going to talk to somebody about their problems. And imagine you build up the courage to go and do it, then the person you go and get therapy from ain't even a goddamn therapist. Like, you crushing the spirit of these people who ain't even got a chance to get right yet. Don't you know that black people on the internet was saying that these black women who actually have their degrees were haters? There were black people saying, how dare y'all talk against Cheyenne Bryant? So what, she ain't got her license? She's still helping people. Nigga, that's because you want to do what Cheyenne Bryant was doing. You want to be a grifter. You want to steal from black people. You want to take somebody's money and offer them services that are not legit, that are not real, that's bootleg. We got to stop dealing with bootleg shit in our community. We got to stop accepting people who aren't qualified to do a job, trying to do a job. You should stop going to church. You want to know why? Because your pastor is not qualified to teach you the truth about God. How do I know your pastor is not qualified to teach you the truth about the Bible? Because your pastor learned the Bible from white people. Your pastor learned in the Christian church about God and the Bible. That's how I know he is not qualified to teach this word. There is nothing that is taught in Christianity that is substantiated by the Bible. This is a challenge I'm issuing to all church-going, church-loving people out there. We in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we believe in the entirety of the Bible. The Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Apocrypha, which was a part of the 1611 King James. We believe all of it to be true. It's the historical, cultural record of God's people and their dealings with the Most High. Nothing that is taught in the religion of Christianity is substantiated by the Bible. Nothing that is taught in the religion of Islam is substantiated in the Bible. Nothing about what's accepted in the culture of America is substantiated in the Bible. I challenge anybody to prove me wrong. What do I mean by that? Christians celebrate Christmas. Jesus born on December 25th. We put gifts under the tree. That's not in the Bible. Celebrating Jesus' birthday, not in the Bible. December 25th being his birthday is not in the Bible. Putting up a tree and putting gifts under it is a sin in the Bible. I can prove it. Christians teach God love everybody. That is not in the Bible. It's nowhere in the Bible that God loves everybody. Christians believe Jesus was born from a woman that never had sex. Mary never had sex, and Jesus was born. That is not in the Bible. Give me something else Christians believe. White people are the Jews. That is not substantiated by the Bible. The whole religion of Judaism, none of what the Jews who practice Judaism believe is in the Bible. The Bible does not substantiate Judaism. Now, I'm issuing this challenge to anybody. I'm Precinct Captain Soccer Ward, ISU Buchanan, Commanding General Yohana in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm easy to find on social media. Only one Soccer War on Instagram and Threads. ISUPK Memphis on YouTube and Facebook. Angry Black Man Media on YouTube and Facebook. Angry Black Man Media on TikTok. You can find me literally anywhere. If someone wants to challenge me that they can prove that the religion of Christianity is supported and substantiated by the Bible, I will accept the challenge. Having said that, I know your pastor is not qualified to teach the Bible because he learned the Bible from white people. He learned the Bible from Christians. Christians don't know the Bible. Your pastor went to seminary school. I know he does not know at all the Bible because he went to seminary school to learn about God. Now, I am authorized and qualified to teach the Bible. Why? Because I studied under Commanding General Yohana and the priests and officers of the Israelites of Universal Practical Knowledge. I did my time. I wore all black for 90 days. I came in the truth and got a Hebrew name. You understand? and my works have proven themselves that I stand with the Most High and live a righteous life and do everything the Lord said to do. Why? Because I learned from Commander General Yohana. The church doesn't teach you how to be righteous. The church doesn't teach you to obey God. The church teaches you to be what church creates and produces. And we all know what church creates and produces, or at least we should know what church creates and produces. And it's not righteousness, I'll tell you that. The church does not create and produce righteousness. And that's where we need to be right now in this day and time. We need to be living righteously. Everybody understands? So when Moses came out and saw this brother smacking down another brother, when Moses checked the brother that was being an oppressor, the brother said, nigga, who are you to tell us what to do? Who are you to be a prince over us? And that's how they look at us. When we come out and we condemn the evil that black people are doing to one another in the community, the people on the street that's mad at us is the drug dealers. The pastors in the church are mad at us because we're telling the people your pastor's lying to you. The politician is mad because we tell the people don't vote. Don't participate in this white man's system. That ain't what God said is the solution for us. And the politician mad because if he don't get voted in, he don't get no money. He don't get to go to Washington and scheme and steal and rob for resources or get paid by AIPAC to vote for pro-Israel policies. That's the whole reason that these black politicians want you to vote. So they can go and get rich while you suffer and starve and die in the ghetto. Damn that. Christ didn't come for the politicians and the preachers and the pastors and the rich athletes. Christ came for the niggas that was in the ghetto suffering. That's what we speaking for today. That's who we love. Guess what? That's who Moses cared about. I said, man, why are you hitting your brother, man? What's wrong with you? I said, nigga, who made you a prince? What the fuck is you in our business talking about what black people doing to black people? What you gonna do, kill me like you did that Egyptian? Ain't that what Christians say? We hate white people. And they say we should not hate white people. You want to know why Christians are so concerned with us loving white people? It's not because our hate for white people is a threat to white people. Our hate for white people is a threat to sellouts. Us hating the white man is not a threat to the white man. We don't believe in violence against anybody. But us hating the white man is a threat to a sellout nigga who wants to love white people. A sellout nigga can't convince you to join him if you being taught the white man is the devil. A sellout nigga can't convince you to go vote if you believe the white man is the devil. When we talk about the evil of white people, it's always a nigga that says, well, what about the black people doing to black people? Nigga, we talking about white people right now. The nigga that don't want you talking about the evil of the white man wants to rob from you while telling you to join the white man. He wants to get paid by the white man for convincing you to join white people so white people can have you for lunch. We telling you white people trying to eat you for lunch. Don't join white people. There's a nigga the white man paid to deliver you to him for lunch that's saying, nah, man, you can't hate white people, man. It's wrong to hate. God love everybody. Because you working with this devil. That's the problem in our community. The problem in our community is the truth is going to force you to obey God and not take shortcuts. Don't you know the greatest shortcut that exists in society today is to just bend over in front of white people and let them have their way with you? The greatest shortcut that exists today is to just get on your knees in front of the white man and open your mouth. And he'll put something in there, and afterwards he'll give you a check. Bend over in front of the white man, and he'll put something in there, and afterwards he'll give you a check. Guess what? I'm not bending over. I'm not getting on my fucking knees. So fuck the white man. He's the devil the Bible speaks of. Now, who's mad at that? The only people mad at that are the niggas who are waiting for a chance to get on their knees and are waiting for a chance to bend over. Them niggas are not like us. They not built like us. They don't have the integrity or the honor that we have. They are the coons and the sellouts. They are the threat to black people because they want to sell you to the white man. Now, who are some prominent figures that have sold us to white people in the past? Puff Daddy sold us to white people. Martin Luther King sold us to white people. Jesse Jackson. Name any prominent black figure that has a white wife. That nigga's a threat. He wants to sell you out to white people. You know who's the enemy? Who's the villain? Who's the one that they want you to never listen to? The one that tells you the white man is the devil, and any nigga that loves the white man is the devil too. Don't trust the white man. Don't trust the nigga that tells you to love the white man. That erases 90% of the successful black people in this country. And them niggas, you know what a nigga who's successful does not want? For anyone to threaten his success. If collectively black people began to disassociate and separate from white people and white culture, and that respect white people and white culture, we would not associate with 90% of the successful black people in this country. We would not respect 90% of the successful black people in this country. And those niggas need to be accepted by you. They need to be admired by you. Jay-Z is nothing without nigga support. Kanye West is nothing without nigga support. Beyonce, and name anybody that is famous and rich in the black community. They are nothing without your support. But they love white people's money. So God forbid the people that they need, who they need to support them, begin to believe the white man is the devil and separate from the white man, then that means they don't get paid no more. So the niggas gotta keep you asleep, gotta keep you loving white people, gotta keep you hoping and praying and singing, and we shall overcome, and no justice, no peace, and I am a man. None of that shit's in the Bible. None of that shit they telling you to do is in the Bible, which is why none of it works. If we want to be delivered, if we want to fight oppression, if we want to rise against the evil of our oppressor in this country, we have got to do what the Bible said to do. And there's a blueprint. There's a blueprint, and we have it in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Command and General Yohana. The knowledge of what we're supposed to do next, we have it in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Command and General Yohana. Now you have to ask yourself, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of Moses, who sees the oppression of his people and is willing to fight and die for it? Or are you one of the niggas that's beating your brother and then talking to the men who are speaking for the brothers and saying, nigga, who made you a prince? Who told you to speak for the suffering and the plight of our people? You gonna hate me like you hate the white man? What side are you on? Are you on the side of the oppressed, or are you on the side of the oppressor? We know the answer to that in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Time is going to reveal which side you've chosen. With that, clap it up. In the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Command and General Yohana, since 1969, we've been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2026, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on this earth. What we like to do with these classes is give brothers and sisters an opportunity to go into this book called the Bible, to gain the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Most High has put inside of this book, so that we can come back to being the people he called us to be and reclaim our righteous place on the earth as kings, priests, princesses, and daughters of Zion. With that being said, classes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 6 to 8. You got family, loved ones, people you care about in the Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas. Get them in contact with the ISUPK. And with that, I'll see y'all for class tomorrow. Shalom, Israel.